So the next article is an article from Breitbart. It's titled Soros-Backed Coalition Preparing for Post-Election Day Chaos. We're going to fight like hell. So this article is all about the left-wing activist groups that are being funded by George Soros to try to organize a sort of election day chaos or post-election chaos around the country. And if you read the article, they're basically setting up the situation where if Trump wins, then they're going to see it as Trump cheated somehow. So reading a bit from the article says, quote, under the guise of seeking to prevent a constitutional crisis, a massive network of well-funded left-wing activists and progressive groups are training, organizing, and planning to mobilize millions of Americans should President Trump contest the election results, refuse to concede, or claim an early victory. Now, what I thought was interesting about this was some of these things are not as serious as others. So, for example, refusing to concede, I do see as a possible problem if the results did show that Trump lost by a landslide or whatnot. I would have some doubts about that. But I see Trump refusing to concede as worse than, for example, claiming an early victory. You know, not all of these things can be seen as bad as the others. And they seem to be setting the stage for any type of Trump victory or Trump declaration of a victory or refusing to concede. Anything will prompt these protests. The article goes on to further say that coalition group heads have described the battle against Trump's re-election as predicated on the unfounded notion that the president has been tirelessly working to undermine the upcoming elections. He's laying the groundwork now to steal the election. We need to lay the groundwork now to fight back, said Sarah Dull, co-founder and chief communications officer at Indivisible, which is one of the groups funded by Soros. The article goes on to say, Trump is already laying the groundwork by declaring the result rigged. So we are sounding the alarm now, said Sean Eldridge, president of Stand Up America, which is another Soros-funded interest group. And furthermore, the article states, with a Trump must go no matter what attitude, the idea of a legitimate Trump win is all but impossible. When we win in November, says Indivisible's, i.e. political director Lucy Solomon in a video describing the group's preparations, they intend to ensure that Trump isn't able to steal the election in the days afterwards. So moving away from the article now, basically what we're seeing here is an attempt to delegitimize a real Trump victory, you know, an honest Trump victory. And I've kind of been saying this for a long time. I'm very worried about these elections, and no matter which side wins, there's going to be protests and chaos and I think rioting and protesting. And especially if Trump wins, we have all of these groups. You know, it's sort of a meme these days and a conspiracy theory that George Soros is, you know, paying people via, you know, Craigslist to go out and, you know, protest. But it's, you know, this isn't quite to that level, but yeah, he's funding all of these liberal groups, and basically these groups are training people to go out on election night or after election night to, you know, say that the Trump victory, if it happens, is not legitimate. And this is a huge problem. And yeah, I think violence is going to happen, and I would not be surprised if, you know, hundreds or even thousands of people die. What do you think, Verv?
Yeah, and I'd like to even point out that there's been some interesting tweets on this topic where people have been revealing that for a long time George Soros has been giving millions of dollars in these little-known district attorney races in places like Baltimore, San Francisco, the Florida Central Courts, which deals with like Tampa, some parts of Tampa. And the goal, some people are speculating, is that the more that they can gain control of local district attorneys, the more that they're going to be able to enable a sort of color revolution of their own. Because when they have people doing things like what the Portland mayor and Portland DA do, where when Antifa goes out and causes violence, oh, it's okay, no charges. We're letting you out the same day, no bail. When they can do that kind of thing, they could basically allow for mass chaos after the election. And, exactly as you said, there really could be lots of instances of violence where we're just never going to see justice because of all of these major cities and important areas having in far left judges present.
Yeah, you're right about the funding of the district attorneys. In Chicago, Kim Foxx, who became quite popular with the Jussie Smollett incident, and the whole brouhaha around him not being charged properly. She's an African American. She also was funded by, I believe, $2 million from a George Soros PAC, backed Kim Foxx for her reelection. So, yeah, it is very true that his money has been, going to all sorts of different groups around America to further promote this liberal agenda. And like I said before, this, people have been saying this for many years, but when you bring this kind of thing up in, an internet conversation, people, roll their eyes and say, oh, George Soros, he's sort of the boogeyman of the right. But, there's a lot of truth to this stuff once you start digging through it. And I just wanted to read one more quote from this article just to kind of drill home the point we're trying to make here. The article goes on further to say that amplifying the groundless notion even further, an article by The Nation last week titled, "Is Trump Planning a Coup d'etat?" was widely circulated among leaders of groups from the Protect the Results in order to encourage individuals to join their effort. So there's articles that are being written that are sort of insinuating that Trump is going to try to steal the election. He's going to try to cheat. He's going to launch a coup d'etat if he doesn't win. And this is the kind of stuff that, it's like throwing meat to the lions. They're eating it up. These leftist groups are eating it up and saying, we're fighting for democracy. We're fighting for freedom. When in reality, it seems like it might be the other way around. They're actually right. They're the fascists themselves.
Right. This is all speculation, what they're doing. They're coming up with all of these spurious reasons to claim that he's trying to steal the election, but they really don't bring any evidence whatsoever. And, it's one of these things when you're trying to see who's actually trying to steal the election. You can go back to the old elementary school principle. He who smelt it dealt it, right? So, in my opinion, it's definitely the left that, not all the left, obviously, your Democrat aunt isn't trying to steal the election. But I think that there are radical far left activist types that are on the receiving end of Soros money, and they are planting these seeds of doubt and trying to rally people, just as the article said, to bring about chaos and to basically steal the election themselves.
Okay, great points there. Whoever smelt it, dealt it. That is true.